Hello and welcome to the D2C podcast. I'm Eric Dick. Today we're having a coffee with Liz Ahern, CMO at Chamberlain Coffee, all about her journey from 7 years at Redbull to leading growth at Emma Chamberlain's coffee company as they move aggressively into the canned coffee market, a $15 billion global market with growth estimates of up to $20 billion by 2029. Listen in and learn about Chamberlain's aggressive moves in retail, the best ways to leverage a celebrity founder, the static ads that consistently win out on meta ads for Liz and Pilothouse. We'll also cover Liz's out-of-home activations and their noticeable impact on retail, not to mention the best lessons Liz learned at best-in-beverage brand Redbull, as well as at Harvard, and also mine at the Harvard of the North. On with the show.
I think what's exciting about direct-to-consumer is that we sort of have an unlimited shelf. It's a really good area for us to innovate and for us to see what works and what's resonating. We are launching almost a new product every single month, and we tend to do sort of smaller runs of certain products and really try and get that sell out, have to have it moment. And then once we see that those things are really working, those are the SKUs that we keep. And then what's really interesting now as we look at that strategy in relationship to retail is that we can take those products that are the best sellers and bring them to retailer. And we can really be strategic about which SKUs make sense for which retailers. That's the really exciting part about direct to consumer is you just have so much data at your fingertips.
Looking for an effective way to drive traffic to your Shopify site and increase sales? Criteo's integration with Shopify helps attract buyers with relevant ads, deliver rich consumer experiences, and drive better commerce outcomes. The Criteo plus Shopify integration allows merchants to launch in a matter of clicks, meaning no development or technical skills are needed. Benefits of this integration include expanded reach, greater personalization, elevated acquisition rates for high-intent buyers, and increased retention. With Criteo, you can acquire new customers across the open web and build audiences from the world's largest commerce dataset. To get started, visit criteo.com/DTC. Liz, welcome to the D2C podcast. I was just kind of doing research ahead of this time and kind of going a little bit over your marketing career. Can you just start by telling us a little bit about how you got to Chamberlain Coffee?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's so great to be here. Thank you so much for having me. But I started my career at Redbull. I was there for a number of years, actually the majority of my career so far, and did a lot of different roles. I started in strategy and operations, figuring out how do we move from a structure that was more based with a solid headquarters to building out a really solid field and regional structure. And that was kind of my first project there. And then I switched over to field marketing and got my hands dirty in working in field marketing in New York, and really had the best time really learning all about Red Bull's entire marketing mix within the New York market. I did leave to go back to business school, but I came back afterwards and I really wanted to find a role that was kind of marrying what I learned on the strategy team, but also with my marketing experience. And so that's when I moved into brand marketing because it was a perfect hybrid of those two skill sets. And I spent my 3 years working in brand marketing in a couple of different roles there. It's interesting. I wanted to learn a little bit more about the direct-to-consumer business. And I was seeing all these tech companies pop up around me and was really seeing the landscape change. And so I made the pivot to go to Carvana for a little over a year. And that was an amazing learning experience. I got to work on everything from large-scale commercial productions to, product marketing, right? Launching new products and startups within the organization and figuring out how do we market this new service? Which customers will it serve? And then I got a call out of the blue one day from a former coworker from Red Bull, who is now the chief executive officer at Chamberlain Coffee. And it sounded like a really exciting opportunity. It was fun to be back in CPG. It's always been my passion. It was amazing to work for a talent-led brand, and one, where Emma is so involved in the brand and has such a really passionate consumer base and fan base. And so I started here in November, and it's been a really fun adventure since.
I've only, as a cusp millennial Gen Xer, I've only recently actually become aware of Emma. But in doing research for this, I see she's like lighting Can on fire right now. It must be interesting working for a creative. What are the best parts about working for a creator-led brand?
I mean, honestly, it's just the creativity. I think coming from the world of CPG, you kind of have your playbook of how typical things are done. And it's really fun to work with Emma, who's so creative, just has such an amazing eye for content, an eye for design and packaging. And, she's really, really involved in the brand. And so that's been the really fun part. I love working with creative people and helping bring their vision to life. It's a lot of what I got to do at Redbull. And that's the fun part about working in marketing. It's that storytelling. And so, yeah, it's been just a dream.
And what a coup for hiring both of you from Red Bull, right? A premier canned beverage company, one of the top ones in the world. The amount of experience you both got there, and they were able to port that over to Chamberlain. Talk a little bit about the market opportunity as you see it for Chamberlain Coffee in the can section.
Yeah. So we just launched our ready to drink beverage in Walmart back in April. And so that's been a really exciting venture because what we found is that 90% of our consumer base was drinking their coffee cold. So there was a huge opportunity. And we also saw that the ready to drink market was just absolutely exploding. So, for us, it was really a no-brainer. And with Walmart, we found a great partner who was willing to work with us and, put us on shelf, and we got distribution in 4,000 stores nationally. So overnight we were a national brand in retail, which was really exciting. I think the opportunity that we have in front of us is, to continue to meet the needs of what our fans and our consumers are wanting. And, they're looking for something that's super easy, doesn't require any, assembly. It tastes great. The current offering that we have is low sugar. And so it's been exciting for us to launch into retail with these ready to drink products. And yeah, we're just looking to continue to grow that.
Who's your director of ops or your COO, and what had to go into getting ready to be launched in 4,000 Walmarts?
Yes. So our COO is Gustav, and it was a Herculean task by him and the team, to be honest. We basically, in 6 months, had to set up an entirely new supply chain because it was very different from our bagged coffee business and our matcha business. And there's so many steps that go into it. Everything from developing the packaging to sourcing new suppliers to doing a bunch of different test runs in production to make sure that you have a shelf stable product to getting it into the distributor and then getting it on store. So most brands, this would be an effort that would take about 18 months. And for us, we did it in 6 months. So, I mean, it's just a true testament to the team. It was quite the effort. And then on top of all of those things, of course, we were layering on our marketing plan. And so for us, we were implementing new parts of our marketing mix that we'd never activated before.
Talk about that. What kind of what parts of the marketing plan get activated when you're launching in 4,000 stores and Walmarts?
Yeah. So, I mean, for us, our goal was to drive as broad awareness as possible. So that meant for us, communicating to our existing fan base and making them aware of this new product launch and the fact of where they could find it at their nearest Walmart. So that was task number one. And then task number two was, how do we make people who don't even know who Emma is or who have never heard of Chamberlain Coffee, how do we make them aware of this product? How do we drive them in store? And then at the store level, how do we engage the Walmart shopper and how do we make them aware of this product and why they should try it? So we had to sort of take a 3-prong approach. And so as part of that, we had to, enable tactics that we hadn't done before. With our D2C business, we focus a lot on social and influencers and email and SMS and all of those channels that you would expect. So we had to make sure that those were covered. But in addition, we had to think about those new broad-based awareness channels. So for the first time, we did a massive multi-city out-of-home campaign. We also did podcasts for the first time and bought podcast ads on Dear Media. And then we also had to look into a lot of different shopper marketing initiatives, right? So how do you think about driving trial at store, whether that's looking into couponing, so you just get someone to pick up that first can, to in-store displays. And so, yeah, we really had to think about how can we activate this across every single part of our marketing mix.
What does, as CMO, what does your team specifically for that project look like? How many, who do you have under you handling the retail marketing rollout?
Yeah. So the retail marketing rollout was, a collaboration amongst a bunch of different teams within the organization. I would say I was probably the quarterback because we're a really small team internally. At the time, I just had one marketing manager working for me, but we have a number of agency partners that we work with, and we could not have done it without them. They truly are part of the team. So we have an agency that we work with on organic social. We have an agency that we work with on paid media, on PR. So for all of our media buys that we did, so we really had to assemble the A squad, if you will, to support this launch.
And then I just wanted to talk about the brand a little bit more, and specifically the canned coffee opportunity. I spent a amount of time in Asia, and I just know the canned coffee culture over there it's 10 times what it is here. And it's interesting to think about how much room there is to grow in that market. Is that the main, I guess that, and listening to your customers is why you went into canned from the beans and the matcha.
Yeah, well, what we saw here in the US was just that there was a tremendous market size with canned coffee. About 1 in 2 consumers, consume canned coffee. About 1 in 2 consumers consume bagged coffee. So we saw that there was that great market size for us. And then as we look specifically for our consumer set, which is the Gen Z and millennial consumer, that is the area that was really growing. And so when we looked at canned coffee, it was also interesting because it also opens up new occasions for us, right? When you think about bagged coffee, it's mostly people making it in their home, sort of in the morning day part. And when we thought about ready to drink coffee, it's something that you can really consume throughout the day, right? Someone may take it to go on their way to work, but they also might leverage it as their afternoon pick me up and just stop by the store to go pick it up. So that was the really interesting part, is how can we open up these different consumption occasions within our portfolio. And ready to drink, not only spoke to that on the go occasion, but it also opened up those other day parts.
Cool. As a creator-led brand, is there ever and I'm thinking, for your out of home campaigns, were you leveraging Emma on those? And I'm wondering, is there what's the crossover as a creative led brand? How much you lean on or work through Emma for your creative messaging?
Yeah, so we did we did a whole photo shoot with Emma to announce our ready to drink, which was really exciting. I think we really try and identify those big tentpole moments for the brand where we do these massive photo shoots or we do content with Emma. And so this ready to drink launch was absolutely one of them. And so our out of home strategy leveraged Emma's likeness for several of our placements. And then we also focused on product imagery for other placements. So we wanted to make sure that within a given market, we had both, and we had coverage of both. So, and of course, Emma behind the scenes is approving everything and really involved in, the creation of the ready to drink product and every single product that we launch. And so, for us as a brand, we're really trying to find those big impactful moments where, we can leverage Emma for that storytelling.
Makes sense. I'm wondering, as a digital marketer, we're always looking for our attribution. And I'm curious, when you roll something out to 4,000 stores and you sort of blanket geographically with out of home and other things, how do you think about attribution when it comes to that? Did you see lifts? Did you have holdback tests where you didn't do out of home in some cities and you see a bigger lift in the ones that you did? How does that work?
Yeah, absolutely. You're exactly right. We did just that. So first, we were really strategic with our out of home approach. So we started by identifying which markets have the highest concentration of Walmart stores. And then we also looked at which markets had, either a higher incidence of a Gen Z population, or maybe it was near a college or university. And so that's how we chose those markets where we were going to place out of home. And then from there, we looked at sort of similar match markets, either with, number of Walmart stores where we were not going to place out of home. And so It's very, very tricky with attribution, especially when you're doing these broad-based tactics. It's never going to be one-to-one. It's always directional, but we did look at market level sales data to try and see, what was the lift in those markets. And, directionally, we did see that lift, which was really exciting. But it's also really noisy, right? Especially during a period of launch, because you have, lots and lots of trial. And so, yeah, as a marketer, you really have to try and eliminate as much of that noise as you can in the data.
So before Walmart, is it safe to say you were pretty heavily D2C? Is that
Yes.
right? And
Yes,
I'm wondering, like,
majority.
what's your skew now? I guess, like, what's your skew now for where you are retail to D2C with this Walmart inclusion?
Yeah. So our expectation is by the end of this year, about 60% of our business will be in retail. But our direct to consumer business is still really important to our brand. And I think what's exciting about direct to consumer is that we sort of have an unlimited shelf. So it's a really good area for us to innovate and for us to see what works and what's resonating with our consumer base. And so, we are launching almost a new product every single month, if not multiple new products every single month. And we tend to do sort of smaller runs of certain products and really try and get that like sell out, have to have it moment. And then once we see that those things are really working, those are the SKUs that we sort of keep in our portfolio. And then what's really interesting now as we look at that strategy in relationship to retail is that we can take those products that are the best sellers and bring them to retailer. And we can really be strategic about, which SKUs make sense for which retailers, maybe in specific markets. And so I think that's the really exciting part about direct to consumer is you just have so much data at your fingertips that you don't necessarily always have when you transition to retail.
100%. And you had mentioned a style of creative that was working well for you, which was kind of surprising to me. And I brought it up a few times since. You'd think, UGC or testimonials, what's the style of creative that's working best for Chamberlain Coffee? And is it the same as in the pre-interview?
It's so funny. It's still statics. Static creative for us, especially on Facebook, is the winner. And it's actually interesting. We started working with Pilothouse a couple of months ago because we really wanted to test out different styles of creative really quickly and get those learnings as fast as we can. So we've tested out UGC style content. We've tested out, highly produced video content. And our static images just are the winners. Now, of course, that depends on which platform of, video, of course, performs really well on TikTok. But for us on Facebook, it kind of defies some of the conventional wisdom. And to be honest, it's not so surprising to me because I do think our brand aesthetic, started with really beautiful design-minded imagery, for our products that we feature across our website, across really all points of communication. And so it's not surprising to me that really nice aesthetic content performs well. But I guess it just defies the conventional wisdom. And it goes to show you that you really have to test and learn and see what's going to work for your brand.
You guys do really own the rounded serif. That you're definitely on the forefront of the serif fonts, which I can appreciate. It looks great.
Yes.
And then you are on Amazon as well. That there's no issue with that. How is your Amazon presence?
Amazon has been crushing it for us this year. I think we got on Amazon late into last year. I think there's some, it takes some time to really ramp up and to learn how to appropriately forecast inventory and to figure out, and really ramp up there. But ever since, beginning of this year, that whole business has been on fire. And so we, just trying to keep up with it. And I think what's been really encouraging to see is like matcha is doing so well on Amazon. So we started off as a coffee business, but in certain channels, matcha is just the lead. So I think with Amazon, when it comes to that channel, it is a really important trial channel for us when you think about it. I mean, what Amazon offers customers, with 2-day delivery, if you're a Prime customer, is really unbeatable. And so it's great if we can, acquire a new customer on Amazon or get someone to try the product. And then if they want to peruse our entire portfolio and our entire collection, of course, that's when they can really see the entire offering that we have on Chamberlain Coffee.
It sounds like you've got more than enough with your hands full, just expanding retail, expanding D2C. But coming from a company like Red Bull that kind of like almost like reinvented marketing for beverages in a way, right? Like how closely they got tied to events and to a whole lifestyle. I'm wondering what are you taking like as a mindset level from Red Bull and how you're applying it to the potential at Chamberlain?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, Red Bull was an incredible brand education and a place to learn, what are the important tenets of marketing. I think the experiential piece is super important, right? It's not super scalable, right? Red Bull got to a point where it could be very scalable because they had, regional events and activations happening all across the US and even the globe. But I think it's hard to underestimate the power of someone really experiencing your brand and having that emotional connection to your brand, whether it's an amazing feat of athleticism or an incredible, unique concert. And then having that product experience, of course, tied to that event activation. And so that's, a couple of the things that we'd love to do more of here. So, we've done a number of different pop-ups and experiential activations, and it's always lines out the door and fans just super excited to be a part and experience the brand in that way. So I think that's number one. I think the second thing is I learned from Red Bull the importance of driving trial and the importance of sampling. The first question I always got working at Red Bull is, oh, do you drive that little Mini Cooper or do you drive that car with the can on the back? So that is that iconic brand experience that someone remembers. And so, but the beauty of that sampling team was really that you could answer someone's question about the product, because with energy drinks, they created a category. It had never been done before. So people had a lot of questions, what's in this product? Is it safe for me? Is it healthy? And so through those one-to-one interactions, you can really break down those questions and answer those barriers and have that one-on-one conversation. And that type of product level education is really challenging to do in sort of mass marketing efforts. Like you wouldn't really do that on a billboard. You wouldn't do that in a commercial. It's not that exciting or memorable, but in those one-to-one interactions, it can be. So I think the sampling piece was super important. And then I think the third and final piece is just with content and storytelling. I think Red Bull is incredible at how they tell stories around their athletes, about how they develop content, whether it's short form or long form. And that's really what also we're trying to do here. And having Emma, obviously, as a content creator and a creative individual, it has been incredible. When we launched our ready to drink coffee at Walmart, we just launched last week a YouTube video where she's playing a trivia game in Walmart, dressed up as the ready to drink can. She's really game for it. And that was really fun. And just to see the views coming in and, just her having fun with it. That's the type of content that's just fun. It's a little silly, but it's not us beating someone over the head with, hey, here's everything that's in the product, but it's just a way for your brand to stand out and be memorable.
I was discussing with Avery, who may be on your account, and she was just discussing how she feels like mascots need to make a comeback. We're in the age of sort of brand maximalism. So to have a celebrity-led brand that's also willing to dress up as a mascot is a real double threat. That's a huge benefit to the biz.
It was awesome. It was such a fun day. And yeah, I think she still owns the costume. So it might be a Halloween costume for everyone for a while.
So what do your growth plans? It sounds like you've got your growth forecasts out for the rest of the year when it comes to target. What are your next big hurdles or mountains to climb with Chamberlain Coffee?
Yeah, so I guess the next chapter of growth really looks like for us, and I mentioned it a little bit before when we were talking about the opportunity at retail, is how do we educate someone who has never heard of Chamberlain Coffee about why they should pick up our brand? And especially in the retail landscape, it can be challenging to do that because you don't always own that brand experience. So we've really had to look at revamping all of our packaging, right? So it's super clear and we can communicate in just that front snapshot what the product is and why someone should pick it up. I think we benefit from having really bright, colorful, approachable packaging to begin with, and that's pretty differentiated in the coffee category. So it really started with making sure that that was really tight. And then the second thing is being able to, again, drive that awareness and trial at the point of purchase. And so finding out which of those levers are best, whether it's retail sampling programs or, very strong point of sale in store, to really make the brand come to life at that point of purchase moment.
What is working best? I guess, is it different by different location? But it's got to be the sampling. Everyone loves a free sample.
I know, and we actually haven't had a chance to employ the retail sampling yet, but it's definitely something that we're looking to do. But we just heard time and time again from, other partners in the CPG space that that's super effective for us. But we've been able to drive sampling through a couple of different mechanisms. So we've worked with a vendor called Aisle, which basically you allow someone to go in store, pick up your product, and then text a photo of their receipt, and they can get a rebate for that product. And so that's been another way that we can kind of drive that trial and that sampling moment, in absence of, the women or the gentlemen pouring out Costco samples or Walmart samples in store.
At this point, like high level, top of funnel, what is your total estimate on how many of your customers are Emma aware? How many of them are kind of coming from that versus how many are discovering Emma maybe through the brand or vice versa?
That's a great question. I don't know that I have the exact data, but when we look at our attribution models and our post-purchase surveys, the people coming through Emma, I would say, is the vast majority of our current customers to date. I think that will evolve over time. But what's super fun and interesting is a couple of months ago, we launched an audio survey for customers and some of our most loyal customers. And we just wanted to hear their feedback on the brand. And this one woman who was like in her 60s, and she mentioned that in her audio interview, was talking about how she raved about the brand and she really loved our fluffy lamb blend and that it was her favorite. So I think it just goes to show you we have customers sort of even outside our typical target set. And so that was really exciting to me that someone found their way to Chamberlain Coffee. And, she didn't give a ton of detail about how she found our brand, but that was really exciting for us.
I also noticed you didn't mention this in your intro, but I also noticed you went to Harvard, which is one of my favorite self-deprecating jokes. Because one time at a bar, some guy asked where I went to school, and I said Queen's University. It's the Harvard of the North. Where did you go to school? And he's like, Harvard. So it was like it was a good moment. But I'm curious. Same question about Red Bull. What from that level of education and that quality of education is something you credit, like your mindset or your ability to do your job that you kind of take from your Harvard days?
Yeah, that's a super interesting question. And I haven't reflected on that in quite a bit of time. I mean, I think what I gained from that experience, both in undergrad or business school, was really being an effective communicator. And that, in college, I did a lot of writing. I was a history major. And so I think that is just a really important skill set that is applicable no matter what job you go into. I was not a marketing major undergrad. I didn't even specialize in it necessarily in business school. But I think it's really important to learn how to tell a compelling story, to back up your argument with supporting facts, figure out how and when you want to use data, and also to come up with an argument that is unexpected, right? Or maybe someone hasn't thought of before. And so it's sort of that unique thinking. And so I've been thinking about that a lot, actually, interesting in this age of AI, right? Where, a lot of writing in the future potentially is going to be outsourced, right? But I think what's always going to be missing from that equation is that creative thinking and that out of the box thinking and, coming up with something surprising and compelling. And I think at the end of the day, what's really fun about marketing is we like to think that we're all rational actors, but we're actually not. We make decisions very emotionally, right? And we really relate to stories and that emotional connection. And that's why brands exist, right? That's why you're willing to pay more for a name brand than a generic brand at the store. It's that trust and that storytelling that's been built up in your memory over the course of several years, perhaps. And so I think that's what gives me comfort at night. When you're thinking about how is marketing going to evolve over the next couple of years, and truly staying on top of being creative and kind of pushing ourselves to think about the unexpected answer is what's fun.
That sounds way more fun. And then all the grunt work you just get AI to do, but you can be the spark. I gotta say,
Yeah.
as a graduate of the Harvard of the North, I concur fully. And I took a film degree, and I remember I was writing about that. I did a 3-hour seminar on time travel in the Terminator franchise. And I don't know what I'm benefiting to any like global discourse, but I learned to get excited about things, get other people excited about things, and be able to communicate that effectively. And that'll serve you well, whether it's marketing, whether it's your team, whether it's your family, anything.
I love that. I would love to see the paper. I think that's fascinating.
Yeah. Oh, I have a whole bunch. I was going over some of my old, and that was what was actually really great about film, maybe even more so than history, is that it's totally out of the box. Like, it was funny. I was taking like feminist, cyborg, postmodern, blah blah blah. I was reading about the male gaze like 20 years ago. Like all this stuff that's really
Yeah.
coming out now is in the belly of it there. But anyways, we don't need to talk about the Harvard of the North anymore. This is really cool. It's really, I'm really excited to kind of follow this journey with this brand. And you'll have to come back on sometime, Emma. This is fun. Or Liz, sorry, not Emma.
Yes. Yeah, no, this was great. It was so great to chat with you. And yeah, would love to revisit this and see kind of where we are, even in a couple months, a year from now. So we're on an exciting path.
What about Costco? What about Target? When are you going to be expanding to another 4,000 stores?
Yeah, so we're in talks with other retailers, and we have some exciting launches coming up that I can't reveal just yet. But yeah, we're always looking to just grow our distribution. And at the same time, we also want to be really thoughtful about it too, because we are a small team. And so we're really trying to take those thoughtful next steps as we approach and make sure that we're really successful and can kind of give the full dedication to the stores that we're in. So yeah, you can expect to hear more even in the next 2 months, I would say.
Oh, exciting! Even if only for Gustav's sanity, you gotta keep you gotta be very methodical about your expansion.
Yes, of course. We told our CEO that we wouldn't do any more like brand new category launches within 6 months. However, it's always fun to push yourself. So never say never. It could happen again.
Thanks for listening to today's episode. If you're not getting the D2C newsletter, you can subscribe for free at directtoconsumer.co. And if you want to learn more about Pilothouse's all-killer, no-filler services, take off to pilothouse.co.
I'm Eric Dick, and this has been the D2C podcast. We'll see you next time.